Good evening, Malaysia and followers from around the world. UMNO is back in the driver's seat of the federal government with Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob as the new Prime Minister. It is a difficult time to be a Prime Minister of any country. Malaysia is facing a pandemic and a weak economy. What is in store for the Prime Minister, UMNO, government, and Malaysians? With us tonight is Datuk Sri Salleh Said Keruak, who was the Chief Minister of Sabah from 1994 to 1996. He was also the Federal Minister of Information and Communications from 2015 to 2018. He is now the State Assemblyman for the Usukan constituency in Kota Belud, Sabah. He graduated from Canada's Simon Fraser University in Political Science, and he also holds a PhD in Political Science from University Putra, Malaysia. So he has an insider's view. He's also a trained political scientist, as well as to be able to tell us what's on the ground, as well as to give an empirical status of what's happening, an overall picture in politics. Joining me is also my colleague, Mr. Philip Golingai from Sabah. So we have two Sabahans tonight with us from Borneo, who is making their presence felt in this particular show. Welcome, gentlemen, Datuk Sri Salleh, and of course, Philip. We shall start a conversation with a first question to Datuk Sri. Can you share with us what will be the immediate task of the new Prime Minister? What will be the challenges ahead of him now, and what would he has to do immediately? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Datuk Sri for inviting me to this interview. It is an honor for me. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our new PM, Ismail. This shows that our democracy and constitutional monarchy is alive and works. And also it proves that we are practicing a party system. We've been talking about who command majority of the MPs, but at the end of the day, it is narrowed down to a party systems. It works in Malaysia. I know PM Ismail from my previous position in the cabinet, and I'm confident he will be able to handle the job well for us. What is more important now is priority. It has to be to tackle the national crisis, COVID-19 and economy. He should forget about party pools, focus on his work. And he needs to build a very strong team. And it won't be easy to build a very strong team because he has to consider too many groupings as far as the MPs are concerned. But he should focus. He should focus to get the best, because the PM himself can't do the job alone. Yeah. You need a team which has experience to help him to tackle the issues. What are the ways he must look into is to expedite the implementations of the vaccination process in Malaysia, and he must make sure that how the population will give cooperation as far as the SOP is concerned. Yeah.
So, Dr. Sri, obviously that his immediate task is to complete the last lap of the vaccination exercise, to make sure that at least 70 to 80% of the Malaysians are vaccinated, including the foreigners. Second part is to put the economy on track. That will be his two main thing. There's also this question of trust deficit. It is a fact that many Malaysians are not sure whether he's able to perform the job, because this is definitely a big job. How would he be able to overcome this issue of regaining the trust of Malaysians to say that, well, look like he can do the job? What does he need to do to win that confidence of the rakyat?
People certainly will look at his team, how we appointed ministers in his cabinet. Number two, because PM Ismail was part of the previous cabinet, so he understood very well government's approach as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. And he must understand what are the dissatisfactions amongst the population, and need to tackle it. I think one of the problem is the communications aspects, you know, how the governments to tell the public what's going on. There are many spokesmen during the previous cabinet, and people are confused. So we have to be very transparent as far as information is concerned. We should not play with numbers. We must address the main issues. And if he can get the confidence of the public, then it will be easier for him to implement whatever policies he's going to do. Otherwise, the trust won't be there.
Yes.
So I think that he has a lot of work to do, and I think he needs to ensure that as far as the solving pandemic issue, people must not look at it from political angle. It must be seen the seriousness of the government to tackle the issues. So in other words, if you look at other countries, if you talk about how they solve the problem, you don't observe ministers going here and there, for publicity. They go to the ground to deliver foods, to get involved, to observe people on vaccination process, but let the bureaucracy handle the whole things rather than we get involved. Yes. We set up the policy and make sure that there's a time frame for us to implement it. People are asking now, people get boring, with all this SOP, lockdown. People want to know, what is the exit plan? Yeah. When we are going to be out from all this pandemic, COVID-19. I think this is the main issue he has to tackle. Because the perception in politics is very important. Yeah. If people look at him just playing politics, it doesn't work. What happened to the previous government? People are talking about, that we are not handling the issue well. But in fact, we have done so many things. We have spent money. We have been, changing the registration process. We have been, finding ways how we can reach the rural areas. But I look at what happened before. We react to situations. If there's a complaint, we do it. In other words, there's no proper planning from the beginning. If we look at social media, their complaints, how to work it out, then we change. We follow what the public wants. Yes. So this will create problem for us later on, because sometimes, if you do a ad hoc approach, we do not see the long objective of the whole policy. Yeah.
Philip, Dr. Sri mentioned the question of narrative, perception, and communications. Obviously, if we look back at the over 1.5 years under the Muhyiddin administration, there was a lack of proper communication. There was no strategic plan. So the result was that a lot of the people were confused. Sometimes the ministers themselves were confused. In fact, they were known to contradict each other, and sometimes they contradicted themselves and made U-turns in 24 hours. And the result is that public have their perception that, look, the government is not very competent. Dr. Sri Ismail Sabri is starting all over again, and he has a chance to make it right. As a journalist, what would you want to see coming from what Dr. Sri Salleh has said about communications? Your call, Philip.
Okay. First of all, I would like to note, when Muhyiddin became Prime Minister, he started as a very popular Prime Minister. When you go to even in the rural area or even in the urban area, which is very oppositions, there is a sense that he is Abba, and then he's doing something. He's really doing something in terms of the COVID, etc. But it looks like he lost the plot around September or October. But my big question is, did he lose the plot because he lost the plot? Or is it there was a concerted effort by a certain group to bring him down? Therefore, they brought the Kerajaan Gagal, hashtag. But I think it's a combination, because you can attack him when it's believable. So there were things that the ministers did, like they had durian they ate durian, etc. And then they were breaking the SOP. That was making people angry, actually. It's the nitty-gritties. And then what we mentioned is, we should have been very proud that actually, yes, we were slow in giving out the vaccine, but we have beaten England, etc. in terms of giving even Australia now is worse than us. So I think, like what YB from Usukan said, I think it's the communication. We have to push more on the good news, and then maybe the politician should just, I think, shut up and then be at the background. So I will see that. And then I think the thing about Muhyiddin also, as a prime minister, he never met the media. He only met once or twice. So maybe Ismail Sabri, who was on a daily basis talking to us during the COVID time, and I think he was getting popular, he should have more of these addresses. Thanks.
Dr. Sri Salleh, I want to follow up to what you had said earlier. You know, when you have many of these components and many of these partners who help you become a prime minister. So Muhyiddin had that problem of having to accommodate many factors. Dr. Sri Ismail will probably have the same problem. If you have too many of these people on board and you are perceived to be weak, it is very difficult for him to discipline them when they do wrong. That was why Muhyiddin had that problem. They had Durian Party, they had test drive, you know, they had all this funny stuff going on, but it was quite difficult for him to pull them together, to rename him and discipline them because he could not take action against them. Would the new prime minister have these problems, sir?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. You know, when they formed Perikatan Nasional, it was not an easy task. There are so many, groups which have met him as the prime minister. But I agree with Philip. During the first few weeks of his premiership, he was okay. Talking about Ma'ya, Abba and so forth. But the problem is, when you in communication, I think his advisor controlling him too much. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, sometimes as a politician, you have your own talent, you can do it. Yeah. Once you experience, you have the instinct, what is right, what is wrong.
Yeah.
And you must listen to all views, but at the end of the day, you must understand what do the people want.
Yeah.
So because, once you are in that positions, sometimes you don't touch the ground, that's why very important for you to follow whatever transpire in the media, social media, because people are expressing their views. It may be a minority, but you see, it can influence. It can influence others.
Yeah.
So what happened, I think, during Tan Sri Muhyiddin, he was really controlled by the advisor. What to say, what not to say. Then when suddenly there's a big issue, then he's in trouble.
Yeah.
He don't conduct, press conferences, he issue statements, but he doesn't communicate with the media.
Yeah.
It will happen to the new prime minister if he's not careful. So he must be clear what he wants. If he's thinking about politics, how about the party polls, whether he will be popular in UMNO or not, then he'll be in trouble. He must focus to solve the problem, to continue good policy, and if he has to change the approaches, he has to do it. He must listen. He must listen to people, and it's not easy. Because in social media, people can say whatever they want to say.
Yes.
You can't stop them. But these people get boring already.
Yeah.
We are doing good things, as Philip said. On the vaccination compared to other countries, we are doing well. But people want it now.
Yes.
They don't look at statistics. They look at what happened now. Why so slow? So you see, it is not. You see, remember I was the communication minister at that time. We tried to tell the public about the good things we have done. But the one MDB issue already play in their mind. They want to change the government. They want to change the prime minister. So communication, so it depends, on the situations. But when they look at the previous government, they look at it that people are the leaders are not disciplined. They are fighting among themselves, and people don't trust the government anymore. So they want change.
Yeah.
When they say kerajaan gagal, then people accept it. Kerajaan gagal. If you see, there must be two steps ahead. They must anticipate what the oppositions will do. They can expect everybody will agree. That's why in our democratic system, there is a government and there is an opposition. What is the job of an opposition? Of course, they will criticize they will take opportunity if there's some issues to the advantage. So I think that the hashtag kerjaan gagal, it works. It works. And the public agree with that. Then we are in trouble at the time. Yeah.
Number three, the UMNO is back in the government. A lot of things have changed. You mentioned about social media. The political scenario, political settlements have changed so much in just a short time. There's a lot of perception that UMNO is not capable of reforming. Do you think that that is a correct perception?
Politics is about representing the voice, values, and interests of the people, right? It's important for any political party to be clear in purpose and objectives, but also to be able to adapt with times. You know, UMNO has been associated with the 3R: race, religion, and royalty, and this is the core struggle of the party. You must look at the history of UMNO, so as MCA, MIC, and other parties. But if they stick to ideology, if they don't adapt to changes, they can't make it in this modern world. In 2018, if not mistaken, UMNO tried to change, party elections widen and involve grassroots leaders. They emphasize on youth, promoting young leaders, and, very democratic as far as the party election is concerned, and focused on the young. But you see, you look at structure of UMNO, it's a structured party from the branches, divisions, and also the Magister Tinggi, Supreme Council. It's a very party-centric party, the approach. So it doesn't work now. People want to a people-centric approach. So UMNO must change if it wants to be relevant. And they're doing it actually. But you see, when they lost the last election, then they realized what happened. Why people are not voting UMNO. And I think they look at other ways. But what they did first, I think that when they strengthened the party, it was not changing the approach. They combined with PAS at the time. They call it Muafakat Nasional, remember?
Yeah,
and
yes,
they won few by-elections.
Yes.
And at that time, I think that they look at also the aspect of race and religion in their politics. And of course, if you look at the constituency, they gain, many seats during the by-elections. But if you want to look for the future, it doesn't work. You must make sure you change your policy, adapt it to changes. People want the party to have economic policy, how you provide jobs, opportunities, economic opportunities for the people. The political development aspect must be strengthened. And I hope that the party will look into it. Yeah.
Philip?
Okay, ChunWai, you mentioned about perception of UMNO. So I talk about the before the loss of 2018. Okay. The perception of UMNO is it's a corrupt party. Okay, technically, almost all the division head that I know drives big cars. Okay, but however, after the 2018 loss, I just use Sabah because I'm very familiar with Sabah. For example, the Sabah division head, at one go, it was replaced by fresh face. The division head, most or all, or no, just say some of them joined Bersatu. So this one warlord have moved out. Therefore, a new group has gone in, and these new groups are technically maybe deputy division head, etc., etc. They are not entrenched in that maybe system of getting money or contract, etc., etc. So these are fresh face coming in. So for me, I feel that structurally, UMNO has changed because of that one swipe of what. So reform comes from there. And then you look at just say one example I see is, for example, the information chief of UMNO now. He's a very young guy, Sharil Hamdan, and I was very impressed that on the night of the Lawan rally, where the 31 of the activists were arrested, what he said the next day was really great. He said, and this different UMNO now talking, what he said is, yes, what they did is wrong because it went against the law, but why do you arrest them? Even at this moment, politicians are meeting. They're having all that meetings, etc., etc. So why are they not arrested? So you have this new breed of people who are allowed, because the problem in UMNO at that time, it was warlord. warlord, but now they've been moved. So people like Sharil Hamdan and maybe like even like Isham Jalil, etc., they are coming in. So there's a new blood.
I agree with you, Philip. I agree with you, Philip, because that if you look at the statements made by some UMNO leaders over the past 1 year, they have actually stepped up with these calls for greater reforms and greater voices for speech and even greater participation of civil society. And I thought that, wow, that's quite a drastic change in tune. The only question here is that would they be able to consistently cap the move for reforms? I just want to ask Dato' Sri. Recently, there were suggestions. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
The funny thing about UMNO is they kena their own medicine actually. What they did to others since independence until 2018, maybe YB Usukan will disagree with me, but they kena actually. All that, whatever, dracon, all that interesting thing that even like deregistering a party, etc., etc. So they tasted the medicine. So the question now is, do you think they will reform? That's a big question.
Would UMNO be able to reform?
I just like to comment just now that I mean I totally agree. There are so many young leaders coming in UMNO now. But can they survive in the present UMNO structure? Because to be a leader in UMNO, you must go through all the branches, divisions, and at the the Supreme Council level, and it is not easy. That's why if you look at other parties like PKR. And maybe DAP and other new parties, the structure is different. The problem with UMNO is it's a grassroots movement. It was just like in China, a communist party, right? Because the structure is there. Why they need it? Because they want to disseminate information through the branches. But now in the modern world, we have the social media, we have WhatsApp. We have the Telegram. So if you look, I remember at the time I was the member of Supreme Council, I wrote to Dr. Mahathir at that time. And I told Tun, I said that you have to change. If you want UMNO to be relevant in the future, you must change the structure. You can't afford it. You can't recruit the young to the party to have a position in the party. Sharil Hamdan, I totally agree. But you see, when you go for election, you see, this young leader, we want to recruit them to be the leaders of the UMNO in the future. So they have to be wakil rakyat. You look at the candidates during election. It's not easy for you to get talent to be a candidate because there will be a complaint from the division, branches, and also the various factions. Maybe the warlords are not there, not as active as before, but they will create new warlords because of the structure of the party. And this kind of party is very expensive to maintain because there will be election at all levels. And your election to elect your president or deputy president through members rather than delegates from the division. So it's tough time, and I think the party will look into it. And I totally agree that there are so many people interested with UMNO now. But I'm just worried. Can they survive in the party?
So Dato' Sri, UMNO's biggest problem is they themselves, in a way.
I think the biggest problem is the structure of the party. I think that they must look. You see, it's a cadre system, because you set up the structure of the party, you create a cadre system in that party. It's like a cell system in that party. It's not easy for young leaders who have the talent. They're not the full-time politicians, They want to contribute to society. They look at UMNO as the best platform. Sharil Hamdan, he did contest in election. Just imagine. From one division to the other divisions. We try to apply just like in other parties, in past, You can be from Pahang, you can contest in Kelantan. But in UMNO, it doesn't work. Look at UMNO, it doesn't work. When look at now in the constituency of, Rembau. Suppose next time, the deputy president wants to contest in that seat. Then where is Khairi going to contest?
So
this is the problem in UMNO you must look into. So when they look at the candidates, overall candidates, It's not easy for them to quota for the women, quota for the young, quota for the veterans. There's so many quotas they have to fulfill. So UMNO must resolve this issue if they want to change. Then the public will look at UMNO. How is UMNO now? The setup of UMNO. If you have 100 candidates, can you provide 50 to 60 candidates? The talented people to be there? That is the challenge for UMNO. But UMNO no choice. They have to change.
Yep.
They have to change if they want to be relevant in Malaysian politics. So
Okay, Philip.
So that Ismail Sabri has the opportunity now as the Prime Minister. For the first time in Malaysia, the president of the party is not the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
If you look at the history of UMNO, the president should be the Prime Minister. This is for the first time, it's a Vice President number 1 become the Prime Minister. So we are just like, we're changing the structure. Maybe, what we should do, we create a whip system like in Britain, The president of the party not necessarily become the Prime Minister. They create a whip system. I think Sarawak is doing it. In Sarawak, when they elected the Chief Bishop of Sarawak, they used a whip. It was supposed to be at that time an Abang Jo, but Adnan Satim, but I didn't get it. Abang Jo got it because it was elected by the state assemblyman, member of parliament, and senator from the ruling party. So maybe we must look at different political system, how to elect leader. Now it's a good example of vice president can be the prime minister of Malaysia. It never happened before. Yeah. It's something good news for us.
Yeah, Philip?
I agree, because you look at the PKR system, they have so many young MPs actually, first term, etc., etc. They're a very young party, and what I'm told is their structure. Anwar, despite his interesting management, he allows young politicians to be candidates. So I agree on that one.
Dr. Sri, I want to move on to the question of bipartisan politics. For too long, that Malaysia's politics has been dominated by adversarial politics. It's you or me. It's always that way. So sometimes the result is that even the supporters get too passionate and too emotional. The way we handle politics is really sometimes too emotional. Is there a way where both sides, the government and opposition, can find ways to work together in common grounds? Can you share with us your views on bipartisan politics?
Yeah, I totally pro bipartisan approach in politics. It happened. The Undi 18 is clear cut. It can be done. When they did the Undi 18 during the Pakatan Harapan time, all parties agree with it. So it can be done. If you like in other countries, in America, you can see at the Congress how they pass certain laws through bipartisan approach. So what we should do, I think that we should make sure the subcommittees, at the parliamentary level to be activated. We don't want to be, involved in a pleno kind of debate, pleno meetings, like parliament.
Yeah.
I look at the in Malaysia, the subcommittee is not very strong, except only the select committee. There should be more debates at that level. Then you can create the bipartisan approach. Otherwise, it's very difficult because you are looking at, from all issues are from your own political perspective.
Yeah.
In fact, we talk about poverty, security, this pandemic. I did write something before. Actually, we should have approached this COVID-19 through non-partisan views, bipartisan. And all parties should get involved, so that we can see, put the best brand from different angle, how to handle the whole things. But I look at Malaysian politics, we like to score points, from political angles. Whatever we do, we want to take credit. But there's certain things we should not do that. And I look at the Undi 18 is a good example that we can work together. Opposition and government, they approve the Undi 18. So it can be done. But it's a question of your political will. But if you think about your political party, it doesn't work. So that's why recently, when I think that Yang di-Pertuan Agong did say, they said, what is more important for us? To have a unity government, a kind of bipartisan approach in politics. This government is supposed to be handling only the COVID-19. But if you look at the media, they're talking about long-term politics.
Yeah.
Actually, this cabinet is supposed to finish the work so that we go for election, go back to the people. But now the way I look at it, the way now in the media now, it seems that this government is there for next 2-3 years. They're talking about new policy. They're supposed to work to solve the COVID-19. This is their job, to finish it. Then if the situation permit us to go for election, we should go and let the people decide. But I look at the media, they talk differently. They're talking about cabinet, composition. To me, cabinet should be small, handling the issues. Finish the work, then go for election, let the people decide again. Look at Canada now, they're going to call for elections. So many other countries. Because at the end of the day, the people must decide. This is systems we have been adopting. We may not agree, but we have to be a democrat, we must let the people decide. But now this cabinet is a crisis cabinet. But now we're talking about the real cabinet, talking about who's going to be the deputy prime minister. Do you need a deputy prime minister to handle COVID? I don't know. Then you are not talking who's going to be the deputy prime minister. Is it from Bersatu, from Sarawak? This is nothing to do Sabah, Australia. We are talking about COVID-19. But now it's a high time for Sabahan MP from Borneo to be the deputy prime minister. This is talking about COVID-19, how we get out from all this COVID-19. We are not talking about MA 63. We are not talking about Sabah rights. We are talking about how to get out from the mess, basically. But I look at the media, they're talking about now, a new government, new policy, new setup. Who's going to be the deputy prime minister, deputy minister? I had to create parliamentary secretary, that kind of thing. We are politicking, The riot doesn't want us to play politics. Do your work.
Actually, the bracket is really sick and tired of all the politics and all this over bloated, fatty cabinet. The less, the better. I agree with you, Philip.
Yeah, for me, I wanted to ask YB a question. Who's your dream team to be in the cabinet?
let PM Ismail handling it. To me, my dream team only 15 members of cabinet. 15. Limit to 15. These 15 are related to foreign affairs, defense, and home ministry, economy, health, very basic things. After all, to me, it's only 3 to 4 months. Why should we think about new ideas? The ideas are all there already. To solve the COVID-19, the ideas are all there. You can look at how they handle in other countries. You adjust it to Malaysia, because they don't have kota blood in Malaysia, they don't have another country, they don't have usukan. It's my own experience, People are excited now for vaccination. They want to vaccinize. But the supply are not there. They're waiting. When, Dato? We are going for second dose. When are they coming? Because they get fed up already. Every day the news, we don't solve problem. We said, wow, there's a new variant again. Variant Delta. Of course, there's other variants. But we should focus now. We want people to be at the same page with us. Go for vaccine. Then we talk about other things. Don't talk about new policy, new dasar for Malaysia. Go to basic things. Okay. I expect this cabinet to handle these things.
Philip, sorry.
Yeah.
Philip, I just want to add, you mentioned a dream team. We hope that the new prime minister would have a dream team and not a nightmare.
Okay, YB, can I ask you? You mentioned that the cabinet should be lean and mean, but wouldn't that mean that maybe the prime minister will lose a vote of confidence in the next parliament sitting?
That is a political consideration, of course. They have to go to parliament. But I think the MPs must understand now. To me now, all politicians, the MPs must understand. This is cabinet, is a crisis cabinet. The work is to finish the job. If you are interested to be a minister, contest next election, hope your party will win, then you can be part of the government, then you can lobby to be a minister. But not now. Now give the mandate to the prime minister to have his cabinet to tackle the issues. It should be above partisan politics to me. If you can get the best from outside, please appoint. Solve this issue. I don't want people to think that this cabinet is just an ordinary cabinet. It is supposed to be a crisis cabinet handling the issues. Why did we topple? Why did the last government fall? Because 15 MPs not happy with him, right?
Yeah.
And now, if you do some calculation, of course you're worried. If next during the parliament, 6 people switch party or one vote, you will lose your government. But I think if you can prove that is seriousness, this cabinet, the formation of cabinet to handle the issue will be okay. But if people look at the cabinet, it's a question of who's and who, from which party, from which faction, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because the faction which did not get a job, they are not happy. So at the outset, you must tell them, please, this cabinet is only to take an issue. So you must have a very small cabinet. If you fill all the position, minister, deputy minister, I think people are wondering, maybe this is not a crisis cabinet, This is just an ordinary cabinet.
Yeah.
So it's up to the Prime Minister to look at what is the purpose of this cabinet. I think that's the most important. He must be clear. If he wants to be popular, as the question asked by Datuk Sri, only for the party pools in UMNO, that it will not work. People will not be had. Yeah.
That's right. If you are a Prime Minister, how long do you think that the government should stay before it calls for a general election? How long would be a good period?
To me, 3 months.
Do you think that 3 months is a bit too short, perhaps?
3 months, then after that, you have 60 days but for election. So next year. It cannot be too long. It can't be a year. It's not already a crisis cabinet in 1 year. If you talk about a crisis cabinet, it cannot be a year.
Okay. 8 months, perhaps?
Maybe 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to by October, you get 80% herd immunity, you reach that level, then next year you can call the shot. Then if you go for like June, July, then you think about the party pools already.
Okay. That's right. Do you think that this Prime Minister, he should grab this opportunity, bearing in mind that what are his priorities, and given the fact that there's only 114 and the other side has got around 105, he would have started off well if he embraces and portray his government as an inclusive government, embracing all Malaysians, and that our battle is to fight the pandemic and to salvage the economy. It is a government of all Malaysians embracing bipartisanship. Do you think that would make him score a lot of points, a lot of brownie points to start off well?
Yes, I totally agree. To me, that he must find ways how to engage the opposition to beat him. I think the first meeting he should call them, or the president of the opposition, to come to talk. See, before you even form a cabinet, he's not engaged with them. What are their views on this matter? You must do some changes in your approach. You don't just talk about bipartisan, but you don't dare to face. You see, you cannot treat them as enemy,
Yeah.
The opposition is there because the system wants an opposition. That's why there's a parliament. So, you must consider them as a group which can contribute to you. So if you engage them, you get their ideas. If some of the ideas how to implement it, a part of it, sure they will support you.
Yes.
Because they want to complain about what? Maybe the registration, maybe they want to complain about why it's so slow. Maybe they complain about the double standard, why, the minister can go here and there, but the ordinary people can't do it. So give them an opportunity, give them a platform, to give their views. If you can have a common ground how to do it, there's no reason for them to oppose.
Yes.
If they oppose, then the Malaysian will condemn them. But if you don't give them the treatment as a group which can participate together, then of course they can blame. You can't blame the opposition. So engage them. Yeah. And I look at the tone of DAP, I look at the tone of Lim Kuan Ning, tone of Lim Kit Siang, tone of PKR. They're quite, cooperative, They may not agree. They may not agree with PM Ismail, but they're quite cooperative as far as try to find ways how to get out the country from the mess.
Philip, do you think that by including these opposition members, then they become a part of these committees and part of these strategies and the plans? Once they are part of it, then they are responsible as well. It'll be much harder for any criticism to be made. All criticism will be made inside, and the political temperature will be brought down and so we can concentrate on getting the country forward. What is your view, Phillips?
Okay, I disagree with the, just say we have a unity government and then you
No,
put,
unity government. It is working together.
okay, just say working together, but the problem is I don't trust the politician from the other side and the other side. Like they will always, like I think YB said, they will always try to score points, and then they will issue statement to just whack the government. So I think there is no, I just don't trust politicians. Because they are thinking of the next election. Actually, they want to show their voters that they care and therefore you vote for me. That yeah, just sorry, I'm just cynical about politician, but not with YP from Usukan.
but I think
I think I can understand why Philip has that kind of views, But I think for a start, if Ismail can do it, maybe next week you go for meetings first. Don't talk about cabinet, call for a meeting. Call the opposition leader, call Lim Kit Siang, call all the leaders of the opposition and discuss these things. How we are going to, to handle the issues. Then see what are the views. If in Indonesia, the opponent can be part of the cabinet, because the system there is a presidential system. I agree with Philip, because our problem, we are party systems. This is where our problem is. So we have to start to relook at the whole things, because the public now look at things differently.
Yes.
They don't care about, party now. They want performance of the government. They don't care. But scoring points, of course, as a politician from a party, they want to win next election. But if Mail can do it, I think that, and if he can solve the problem, he'll make it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will be behind him.
Yeah,
Philip, I think that.
Can I just?
I remember that time.
Sure,
sorry,
sure.
I just to do. I did it myself. When I was the chief minister at the time, I have 25 seats. All right, 23 opposition led by Joseph Parin Ketingin at the time. I have 13 bills to approve. I consult Parin. 13 bills, to approve at the time. What I did, I go and talk to Tan Sri Parin at the time. Talk to him, Bernard Dompok. Why don't we discuss first? Then they agreed to work together, and we passed the bill easily at that state assembly, because I consult them before I propose it to the so it can be done. They are humans, They also want to solve our problem. While they want to score points, while they want to be also in the government. But I know during this very critical situation, I think there's no choice for us. We should not score points, but solve the problem. And we fight next election with our manifesto.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. There are politicians at the moment, opposition politicians, who think that the vote of confidence is their chance to become PM.
Yeah.
So they are plotting now to bring down this government to become PM.
So we want to be like in South Korea, every 18 months they change. We don't even know who's the prime minister, who is the finance minister.
I think, Philip, as a start, the prime minister can include the opposition members into the National Recovery Plan Council, because there was also promised by the Tan Sri Muhyiddin, and that these members are not named yet. I think they should come into the council. That's one, and I believe that I hope that the Prime Minister will also set up a National Reform Council where both sides can sit down on what kind of procedures and what kind of reforms it can be carried out in Malaysia, where both sides can sit down together. There's really nothing to lose, because these are mere proposals. Nothing is cast in stone. But the idea is to bring people together, not just the opposition members, but also Rakyat, to feel that they are part of this inclusiveness in what Malaysia should go. It's politics. I mean, running government is not just the monopoly of politicians or bureaucrats. The people should have their say. And when we talk about politicians, it should be from both sides. And this is where I'm trying to come from. Bipartisan politics is a very risky business. And those MPs in DAP which tried to push for bipartisanship have found themselves been thrown under the truck. Okay, so and if you are from Barisan Nasional, if you talk along the line, people cast suspicions of you. Grassroots members get very upset. But I think that the rationality and maturity in democracy is necessary. The lack of maturity is reflected in the way Malaysians articulate their views. If you look at the comment section of social media, I mean, they make comments that put people down. They call people names. There's no proper constructive ideas or discourse. It's just calling people names and shouting at each other. This is something that we need to remove from our kind of politics. Dr. Sri, you have been in politics all your life. What is your view on politics, which is merely shouting, rhetoric? People get very turned off by this kind of politics, combative approach in parliament. What is your view?
Yeah, actually, it also happened in other countries, not only in Malaysia. We don't listen to good debates. We should actually listen to good debates. I think that that we have to conduct our debates, very gentleman. But sometimes people get emotions, and they become too personal. Because of the concept of politics they are practicing, trying to score points, trying to play to the gallery. So this is the thing that we have to find ways. It's just like football, when we play for our teams, there will be those who play aggressively and those who play beautifully to get the result of their teams. Even the fans can be passionate and aggressive as well. Take, for example, the rivalry between MU and Liverpool. But you see, we must find ways how to conduct our debate properly. And number one, I think that the speaker must play a very important role. We have been talking about the reform of a parliament. We're going to be the parliament of Malaysia must be reformed, but it has not been done till now. So to me, if you actually create more subcommittees, if you allow more debates on the subcommittee, then you can educate them. Then I also like, if you look at what are the problem in Malaysia, I think that we don't have that local council elections. I'm a very pro local council election. In other countries, in Commonwealth country, you train politicians, they become a councillor first, then they become a state assemblyman or member of parliament. But in Malaysia, they sometimes direct to be elected, become a member of parliament. So they are not trained, they're not trained as a representative of the people at that level. So they become very emotional. But I think it can be handled. My experience before, when I was the minister there, I engage with oppositions. That's why whenever I present my views, basically it was done in a very cordial atmosphere because I engage them. There must be more engagement, So we cannot assume that they are our enemies.
Yes.
We must try to understand what they want to say in that parliament. But now the way I look at it, we're scoring points, as Philip said. So sometimes to me, politics is not 24 hours game, There's time that you want to really play politics during elections. I totally agree. You have to win. But now we are playing politics 24 hours. Everything want to score points. Yeah. And the people are getting fed up. The worst scenario will be they don't want to go and voting. It's dangerous because we are not compulsory voting in Malaysia, not like Australia. So if this happens, then what kind of politician will be there for Malaysia? So we want this politician to be that level, the people can respect them.
Dr. Sri, we need to wrap up this program. I have a final question for you.
Yeah.
Ahead of National Day, ahead of Malaysia Day, what kind of Malaysia would you like to see, and what are your hopes for Malaysia?
To me, actually, I want to, there has to be improved the federalism relationship between federal and Sabah and Sarawak. I think that I totally want the rights of Sabah and Sarawak as envisioned by the Malaysian agreement to be restored. And I also want to improve the gaps in economic poverty, development, rural and urban, and to tell the young generation to understand and appreciate the value of independence and increase their patriotism. I think these are the key, and I'm a bit worried while we are, talking about COVID-19, talking about the new government, we forget the basis of this country. Yeah.
Dr. Sri, the events of the past 1.5 years has dampened the spirit and the mood of many Malaysians. Some even feel that there's no hope in Malaysia. Perhaps they should tell the children to migrate. They say they've given up on Malaysia. What is your response to such a pessimism of many Malaysians in Malaysia?
I think that we should have confidence in Malaysia. Life moves on. I think that at the end, this problem will be resolved. And I think that, that the country will be back as before. let's get over this COVID-19 and let the people decide next election which party should be the ruling party again, and get a good policy. Not not narrow in depth, not parallelistic, but policy which can help Malaysia to move forward, more jobs, more opportunities for the people. Don't just talk about racial, religion, but talk about Malaysia itself. We talk about Sabah rights, but we know Malaysia is our tanah air. We are part of Malaysia. We have our own rights, but we feel that this is the safest place for us. If you compare what happened in other countries, look at Afghanistan, look at other countries, what has happening. Malaysia, please have confidence in this country and we'll make it together.
Thank you, Dato' Sri. Thank you, Philip, for joining us tonight to share our thoughts for our beloved Malaysia. We hope that the new Prime Minister will put on track what is really needed and urgently needed for Malaysia. Thank you and good night, guys. Thank you. Bye.